Curse mode is ridiculous. This is a challenge mode for blueprints where you start each day with 13 steps, and each time you draft a color room, you lose the resource that it's associated with. So for example, drafting an orange hallway will make you lose a key. A green room will make you lose a gem. A purple bedroom will lose a step. A golden shop will lose a coin, and red rooms make you lose all of them at the same time. This is even funnier with the aquarium, which is already every color and a red room. So yeah, you do lose everything twice. May as well be David Jones' locker in there. And mind you, I didn't just draft that aquarium for fun. That was the only valid option to continue moving throughout the day, which is hysterical. And then take a look at this run where I had 3 red rooms without a furnace. It's like, how do you not love this ridiculous challenge mode? Now, many players ask me, how do you unlock curse mode? Well, there's a few steps. The first is drafting a bookshop and having 40 coins to buy a book inside of it. Bookshop is an interesting room in that it can only be drafted from the library. So if it's your top priority to unlock dare mode, definitely have some dice or a study and try re-rolling off of the library. Eventually you'll get there. The 40 coin purchase is a book called The Curse of the Black Bridge. Once you've bought it, you can check it out and read the entire thing from your own library, which you do have to do. The Curse of Black Bridge is extremely long, way longer than all the other books, but it's really well written and absolutely worth reading. And once you've done that, you can now purchase the cursed coffers from the room called Mount Holly Gift Shop. This room will only show up once you've reached room 46, but I imagine you've already done that because there's no way you'd care about curse mode until you've beaten the game normally. As the description says, this does add a special chest of sorts to the shrine in the outer room. You can't just open this with a regular key. You will need a sledgehammer, and the game will prompt you many times not to smash it open, but doing so will unlock curse mode, and you'll also be cursed for today and your next day as well. Being cursed is basically a negative blessing. You can't just trump over it with a regular one, and that includes curse mode itself. If you think you're a wise guy by drafting a shrine in curse mode, well, just take a look at what you're greeted with. And so the best way to play around the curse is not by a cheesy blessing, but by not having the resource when you draft the room. For example, if you have 0 keys in your inventory, drafting a hallway won't make you go negative, or it won't prevent you from drafting it. You'll just lose 0 keys. So it's pretty helpful to know when to spread out your resources and when to pick them up. Look at that. That's why we don't pick up the gem. Look at that. A gem saved is a gem earned. By the way, I very rarely went outside in curse mode because 13 steps to start your day off is so low. You are risking a very poor day by throwing away all those steps. It's not the easiest thing to get steps in this mode, especially when it's difficult to find upgrade discs or to find a lot of money to buy out a kitchen. It's a compounding issue. Think of it like this. If you have a lot of steps, not only do you have more opportunities in general, but those opportunities can lead to more steps. When you're limited to just 13, you don't have the range to consistently find extra steps. It's rough. To be frank, nursery is the single best room in all of curse mode, and it's not even close. Likewise, the bedroom and the boudoir, being purple rooms that continue, are also extremely important for your nursery days, which you're hopefully seeing every run. If you don't see a nursery, hopefully you can draft an observatory to gain a permanent star, or if you're really fortunate, you can get a laboratory for experiments. Experiments are hugely important in curse mode, arguably more important than any other mode of the game. You have your usual suspects like permanently increasing star count or increasing your allowance, but the real star of the show is setting your steps to 40. This is the single best way to have all the steps you'll need for a valid day. Heaven forbid you can trigger it twice. Frankly, I spent a lot of days in curse mode making the smallest, most incremental progress. And by progress, I mean drafting an observatory and just frankly calling that a win. Just like in my dare mode run, the conservatory is extremely important. That is a great use of your day. Making red rooms rare is more important than ever. Making blue rooms more common is great as well. Blue rooms, if you haven't noticed by now, are the only rooms in which nothing bad happens to you. Then of course there's just making powerful rooms more common. One of the best things I did was make the attic show up more frequently. 3 gems is a lot, but with a gem mine, all you need is a parlor or an OP den, and you can instantly get all the items you'll need for a day. Let me tell you, items are not easy to acquire in curse mode, and drafting an early attic was the only reason I was able to assemble a power hammer, which is of course a tried and true way to reach room 46. Just make sure you can get a coat check as well. But if you don't find a coat check, hopefully you have enough steps to go outside and bust open that door to the underground. On a similar note, if you start a day in curse mode and find that you're not making any real progress, a good use of your time is going outside and trying to find a tomb. We all know that's the easiest way to pull back the minecart, and again, a solid use of a limited 13-step day. Now, some of you scouts might be listening and wondering, why is it 13 steps? Shouldn't you have 33 with the apple orchard? Well, let's just say it's not called curse mode for no reason. I mean, take a look at the outside of Mount Holly. It may as well be Mount Helly. That being said, the aesthetic of curse mode is gorgeous, and it's additionally fascinating when you consider the contents of the book Red Prince, which does talk about a red sky. You may have heard that the final update for Blue Prince will include a unique opening cutscene and a unique game-winning cutscene for both Dare mode and curse mode. I'm very curious if curse mode will have more references to Red Prince than it already does. Now, throughout my streams, people were asking me, is curse mode demoralizing? And the answer is surprisingly no. I mean, yeah, it's really frustrating to only have a few steps, but that's kind of what this mode is. It's challenging for a reason, and it's not as though you're getting blindsided. You know exactly what you're getting into with a mode called curse mode. I do appreciate how this challenge makes you play the game differently. For example, for the first time ever, I purchased a salt shaker, wanting to get 1 or even 2 extra steps out of it. That's crazy. I made it a genuine priority to throw coins in the fountain, especially if my day was not going very well. I learned that even if it costs you 1 of your gem mine gems, an early chapel is still worth picking, and as a result, I tried very hard to not just pick up my allowance right away, especially if I knew I would enter back inside the entrance hall. Heaven forbid I could actually get a coin purse as well to get even more value out of it. Since my general game plan was to make a beeline straight for the corners of the house to try and draft an early conservatory because I knew that that would be permanent, meaningful progress, I tried very hard to spend 1 gem in the meantime. That way I don't just lose both of my gem mine gems to the conservatory's green room debuff. I don't just blindly pick up keys from the nook as soon as I can. I'm very likely to draft a hallway that's going to make me lose it. But at the same time, sometimes you have to pick up those items and resources because there's just no way you're gonna have the steps to backtrack unless you find the laboratory experiments. The Blackbridge Grotto is so crucial. It's difficult as heck to connect power to a laboratory, but if you can manage to pull it off in curse mode, holy cow, that means that your office and your security rooms are also potential chances for an early experiment, and solving the safe inside the office is going to give you a rebate to make it only 1 gem, just like the security and laboratory. That is a notable point. You should not tackle Dare mode and curse mode until you've gotten a real hang of the main game. You definitely want your safes opened, and you absolutely want a planetarium. You've heard of speedrunning. You've heard of speedrunning in Blue Prince, okay? This is a different type of speedrunning. Yes, yes, yes. Beautiful. Another cool thing about curse mode is how certain rooms become way more powerful. The pantry is kind of mid normally, but in curse mode, it's a blue room. It gives you 4 coins and it gives you crucial steps. The kitchen takes on increased importance, especially with a decent allowance, but even a small one can get you just a few extra steps to maybe get an experiment or an observatory. Upgrade discs are really hard, but they can be extremely notable. I got a Joya upgrade for my cloister that allowed me to permanently increase the dining room food. However, the dining room is kind of awkward in general because reaching rank 8 is borderline impossible. If you can reach rank 8, you have made tremendous progress and you're probably already winning the game. So in that world, the dining room is really important to sustain you, but you cannot rely on that on any other day. I consider curse mode to be a lot harder than Dare mode, but funny enough, I did solve this a lot faster, and the secret to my success was the 50-star constellation, the Inkwell. This allows you to spend a star and re-roll rooms as often as you want. Considering you have 50, that's a tremendous amount of power. I was fortunate enough to get the 40-step lab experiments, and it was on. The combination of these two is so egregiously powerful that it didn't even matter that I had limited resources. For example, that many rerolls means you could actually draft the gallery of all rooms, which gives you another easy 2 gems, just like a parlor room. Then you can easily spend that on a foyer, which will make your hallways always open. That means that not only is the Great Hall a winning move in opening up an antechamber lever, but it also means you don't really need keys to continue moving deep in the ranks. Having 50 rerolls also meant I did not need to be afraid of my gem count because I could always reroll to find an option that doesn't require gems. There was one point when I had a tough decision. I was debating whether or not I should spend the gem to get 3 keys at a garage. Was a garage being a dead end worth it? Yes, because gems are way less important than keys at that point. You even have the option of leaving keys in there to pick up later since your step count is solved, and now you don't need to worry about drafting the Great Hall and losing losing a key. Frankly, this win was one of the best days of blueprints ever. I was able to power hammer the greenhouse and use a broken lever for yet another antechamber spot. I had a victory lap where I just threw in upgrade discs that I knew I'd never get again just for the heck of it, on the smallest chance that I ever play curse mode again and try to unlock all the sanctum keys. There was one notable hurdle which did make me sweat bullets, and that is security doors. However, constantly re-rolling for utility closet and security was not that difficult, and so it was smooth sailing at that point. Curse mode is very difficult, and unfortunately, the low step count means that the number of viable strategies are fairly limited. Unlike dare mode, where there's tons of replayability and combinations, you're pretty much locked to either getting a nursery or a good lab experiment to have a valid day. Maybe you're lucky enough to get a sauna the day before, but that's pretty tough because you need a pool, you need a gem for the pool, and you have to find the sauna with limited steps, which means you're not drafting that many doors. Emphasis on blue rooms though, especially considering the game is called Blueprints. These are the bread and butter of your runs, and so it's fun when a spare room is better than a corridor. And you know what? Even if the number of strategies are more limited in general due to a smaller step count, that also means that your skill as a Blueprints drafter has increased weight. I like that the game gives you decisions like this though, right? Like building on the west versus building in a safer area. So my step count is really low, 15, you know? If it weren't so low, I think it's like defensible the other way. But I also have no keys, and having no keys is like, that's the real deciding factor, I think. I don't know that I can justify pushing in this direction. In the main game, you have plenty of steps. That means it's not hard to pivot from one direction to another, pick up some resources, and then head back to the more northward path. In dare mode, you don't have that luxury. If you're going south, perhaps to throw a coin outside, that means that you're giving up on that northward path. It's very unlikely you can have it both ways. So what do you do in this situation? You might ask yourself, how am I spreading out my rooms? Can I get away with not drafting this hallway here because I have a key in my inventory that I really don't want to lose? All of these choices, when put together, are very fun, and I think curse mode is really made for the solid players who love the joy of drafting and are considering this a cherry on the sundae when it comes to enjoying the thrill of building in Blueprints. If you're curious about dare mode, do check out my video on it. I have everything you need to know, including the list of all dares that are possible and my ranking of them from easiest to hardest. The next challenge is the day 1 trophy, which I'm really intrigued about because I've seen a lot of comments online that bemoan how difficult this challenge is, but my good friend Akshug, otherwise known as Axel Haviko, the producer of Blueprints, is a very skilled player, and he claims that 50% of all day 1 runs are possible to reach room 46, provided you have the skills and know the strategies. Imagine the biggest difficulty with day 1 is knowing when to pivot and knowing all the possibilities. Even when I beat day 1, I have fun ideas for future challenges like reaching room 46 without drafting green rooms, red rooms, purple rooms, etc. If you're interested in self-imposed Blueprints challenges, definitely consider subscribing. Maybe check out our streams as well. We've been having a lot of fun shooting the breeze as I bang my head against the wall a million times trying to get one extra piece of gold for my allowance. As always, I'm Scoutmaster Demi. See you around the camp.